Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Boker Tov, good morning. We continue our journey through the morning Shacharit service. We are on the section of that service known as Kriyat Shema U'Berchoteha, the recitation of Shema and the blessings that surround it. Yesterday we began to focus on the second of those blessings, just the one just before Shema, Ahavah Rabbah, a great love. This blessing is centered around the experience of the divine through learning, through the gift of Torah, which constitutes a sacred ketubah, a record, a marriage document, as it were, a metaphorical marriage document of the great and abiding love between the Holy One and ourselves. For this morning, I'd like to focus on the second line of the prayer, which is on page 62 of Mishkan Tefillah. We sing the line on Saturday mornings, so many will know it. Bahar erinenu b'toratecha v'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha v'yached levavenu li'ahava u'yirah et shemecha. Roughly, this translates to, may our eyes shine with the light of your Torah. May our minds be drawn to your mitzvot, to your commandments, to your guidelines for living a good life. And may our hearts come together in unity with awe and with love for your name. I've always loved the poetry of this passage, the idea of eyes ablaze, shining with the light of learning and of hearts drawn together by reverence, by awe, and drawn together by love of the Holy One, by love of the sacred. So I want to share a passage on this section written by Rabbi Lawrence Kushner and Nehemiah Paulin in My People's Prayer Book. And he's focusing on the line, Dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha, and that my heart, the verb dabek usually means to cleave, to be inextricably bound with or stuck with your commandments. Kushner and Paulin write. In Hasidism, however, the word dabek, or cleave, means more than simply remaining close. It comes from the same root as dvikut, which is the goal of Hasidic spirituality. It's usually translated as cleaving or intimacy or staying attached to, but dvikut is really a fusion, a unity with God, the loss of self in the enveloping waters of the divine, a kind of amnesia in which we temporarily lose consciousness of where we end and begin, which is to say, a merging with the Holy One, the holy oneness of all being. The Chassid in this scenario seeks through discipline and practice, through mitzvot and meditation, to reach a kind of unity with God. And in that unity with God, they get out of self-consciousness. They are in a place where Buddhism would say that there is no self anymore. There is just all God. Kushner continues. Yechiel Michael of Zlotchov explained that a person who experiences the Vikut loses all self-awareness and considers him or herself to be nothing, ayin, like a drop that has fallen into the sea and returned to its source, now one with the waters of the sea, no longer recognizable as a separate entity. Such a religious loss of self is also described by the American theologian Richard Rubinstein in an oceanic metaphor. He suggests that God is the ocean and we are the waves. In some sense, each wave has a moment in which it is distinguishable as a somewhat separate entity. Nevertheless, no wave is entirely distinct from the ocean, which is its substantial ground. And so Kushner concludes, in light of this, we can understand how the phrase "V'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha," cause our hearts to cleave with or unite with your commandments, means more in Hasidic spirituality than just a wish to live in accordance with God's Torah. Through the observance of the mitzvot, the worshipper prays to be rewarded with a loss of self, melding into the divine, an experience of ultimate unity. I think all of us at some point have that experience. Some who are religious will call it a dvikut, a cleaving or a unity with God. Those who don't believe may think of it as something more akin to what Csikszentmihalyi referred to as flow. But it is this sense that you are completely so at one with, so engaged in whatever you are doing in the moment, provided that what you are doing is a good and sacred activity, that you are so engaged in it that you lose all awareness of yourself. I've described that state sometimes while playing music. I'll be noodling around on the banjo and inexplicably I'll find myself playing faster and more concisely and far, far better than I play 99% of the time. And in that moment, in that time, I'm moving my fingers, but I'm not even aware they're my fingers. It's just the banjo and I are one, and I have no awareness of myself. It is just everything is in that piece of music. And then, as inevitably happens, you become aware again. You become self-conscious. And suddenly I feel my fingers, and they're heavy, and they're clumsy, and I go back to my usual struggle to play. We all have, I think, this experience in one realm or another. So this morning, as we pray, "V'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha," let our hearts cleave, but let our hearts find true union with the Holy One, so that we are in that place where we lose consciousness of self. Think of times when you were in that place, when you were fully present with whatever you were doing. And think about what it might mean, again, to give yourself over fully, heart and soul and mind, to a sacred task, and then through a moment of grace, be in that place of the vikut, of cleaving, to be just fully present. mitzvotecha v'yachid levarenu v'ahavah u'yira et shemecha. May our eyes shine this morning with the light of Torah. May our minds be drawn. May we cleave to your mitzvot. And may our hearts come together in awe and love of your name. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. We'll end this morning with the counting of the Omer. Today we focus on Malchut Sheb'Tiferet. We continue this focus on balance and beauty and compassion. This morning we look at Malchut, about sovereignty, about nobility, about dignity within compassion. Rabbi Simon Jacobson suggests, examine the dignity of your compassion. For compassion to be complete and enhance the other 6 aspects of compassion, it must recognize and appreciate individual differences. It should boost self-esteem and cultivate human dignity, both your own dignity and the dignity of the one who is benefiting from your compassion. Hayom echad v'esrim yom shehem shlosha shavuot la'omer. Today is the 21st day of the Omer, which marks 3 weeks of counting the Omer.